Okay, let's look at pick lists and client captions first. The pick lists within the software are the drop-down selection lists that are used, and they're really designed so that it speeds up the data entry, and also importantly make sure that the data that you're putting in is clean and accurate. So it helps make sure you don't get misspellings of things. And the client captions will become clear as we get to those. So the pick lists are the first thing. We go to the setup menu at the top, click into pick lists, and these are the things that you can edit in the Professional Plus edition. The client types is the first one, and when you've done the download and install, it's set up some by default. So we've set up commercial, domestic, insurance, landlord and tenant. And the one that we've chosen as the default client type is domestic. So this is how it'll come set up. If you're predominantly commercial, you can put a tick in the commercial box, and then when you create a new record, it'll automatically populate that field with the client type as commercial. If you're predominantly domestic, leave it as domestic, and that automatically populates there. Now, with all of these pick lists that you can edit, you can add and delete things to suit yourself. If you want to add a new one, there's a button at the top right hand side that says new. If you click that, that opens up a new line at the top. So if I just put in here sample and hit the tab key, that's added that to the list. So now that would be on the list to choose from in the client record. If you want to delete that, if you look at the top right hand side, the button that says new, alongside it there's a drop down box. Click the drop down box, choose delete from the list. That makes the button a delete button. Now you hit delete and sample disappears. Now obviously if you've done something by mistake, what we've also done is put a redo or an undo button here. We can click the undo button and sample will reappear on the list. Now I do want to delete this, so I'm going to hit delete and remove that. But what we recommend is if you've had this set to delete, just quickly change it back to hit the new and change that back to new there. So that's how you add and delete items onto these pick lists, and that's covered off the first client type one. The next one on the list here is client types 2, and we've left this empty so that you can add your own in here because there's different ways that you can use this. Immediately below the client type 1 on the client record there's a client type 2 drop down selection box, and we can also customize the caption for that as well, so I'll show you where that is. Now, client type 2, some clients use that as star rating for domestic clients, so they may have 1 star, 2 star, 3 star. Others use that as a second category of commercial client, so they'll choose client type 1 is commercial, and client type 2 they'll set up as hotel, retail, office, warehouse, that sort of thing. So that's up to you how you want to use the client type 2, and we've left that deliberately blank. Now I did say you can customize what that client type 2 caption is within the client record. If you don't do anything with it, it'll just display as custom field immediately below the client type 1. But if you want to customize what that says, you can go to the setup menu, click client captions, and we've got here client caption 2. So at the moment it's set to custom field. If we want to change that, you could change that to category, and that'll be saved, and when you look in the client's record the client type 2 will be category. Okay, so the next item on the pick list is extra codes, and we've put those in here. So we've got some sample ones that we've downloaded: anti-allergen treatments, deodorizers, flame retardants and sanitizers. Extras are the additional services that you can provide on top of the core service that you're doing. So you may, in the system, you may set up clean only, clean and protect, and then you may want to quote a separate price alongside that line item for if you're applying an anti-allergen treatment or a deodorizer to it. So this is usually an extra on top of the main core services that you're offering. The pick list that you can amend is the name titles. These are the ones that we've imported automatically. They speak for themselves. If you come across something else you want to add in there, or you want to take some of those out to make the list shorter, you can do. The next one as well is payment methods. So again, we've set these as default: cash, check, credit or debit card, free of charge or a write-off, and as you see how the system's used, you'll see where they appear. The next one along is payment terms. Again, we've deliberately left this blank. We didn't want to fill this with sort of a presumption as to what your payment terms may be. Again, you can add new ones in here. Just click new and you can put 7 days. Add another new one and put cash and things like that. And then when you're creating invoices within the system, you can choose the payment terms that will be printed automatically onto the invoice as you produce it. The next one is plan names. So if you're using the maintenance plans, you can set up your own maintenance plans in here. Again, we've not presumed any plan names that you may be using, so we've left that for you to complete those for yourself. And then we've got one on here called quotation categories. Now, where this appears is when you're in the diary and you're making a booking for a quotation, there's a little box that you can drop down and choose any of these items on the list from. And what we've found is that it makes it much easier to just pop on the quotation a note of what you're going to have a look at. So if the client says she wants a quote for cleaning the carpets or the upholstery, as you add the quote on, you can click this little drop-down box, and one of these will appear, and you can just choose one or many of these to add into the list. And if you watch some of the other videos, you'll see where they are. So the next one on here is trading names. In this edition, you can only have one trading name set up, and this is where you can edit the information that's on here. This has been automatically populated from the license details that you've entered. So you may want to change the address if you put your home address on the license and you want to put a business address that's going to be produced and printed on your paperwork. If you want to change the address, if you click into the box, you'll see there's another small little box appears within the address field. If you click that, an edit address or a text box opens here. Now what you need to do is change the address in here, but make sure that you enter it as if it was how you wanted it to be printed on an envelope. So for instance, if I want to change the den on here to head office, I could change that there, and that would change the address details there. Click OK, and that will save it in the system here. You'll notice that the postcode is a separate field, and then we've got the telephone number that you're going to print on paperwork and things, the email address. Also in here you can set up the VAT number, and this is a good example to show you how you can readjust the grids quickly there. Put your correct VAT number in the system here, and it'll automatically default that this is obviously your usual trading name, so it'll pull that through onto all the paperwork automatically. So that's the trading names that you can adjust. The next item on the pick list is you can change what appears in the truck mount selection box within the client record. You can see here it's defaulted with the installation of no access, not suitable, required and used. Again, you can customize this, add and delete as required. And then we come to probably the most important two of the whole system. We've got where did you find our number today and where did you first hear about us. They're two slightly different questions. So where did you first hear about us? So they may say things like Yellow Pages, a leaflet, or those sort of adverts that you're doing, but they may also say referral. So we've added in here a compulsory field that says referral, and we've put some default samples in here to give you an idea of the type of thing that needs to be in here. So you need to make sure that this list contains all your advertising sources that you may do, and just delete any of the ones that aren't important. Now, that's where did you first hear about us. If we go to the other one, where did you find our telephone number today, it's essentially the same list. Because when you ask the question, where did you first hear about us, if it was BT phone book, for instance, you would mark that as BT phone book. And it's probable that they've got the telephone number today from the phone book as well. But if we go back to the referral example, if they first heard about us from a friend and you mark that as referral, you can track how many referrals you're getting. But by asking this second question, where did you find our number today, you can actually find that they got it from a leaflet that was through the door, or they actually got the number from the phone book. So again, in some of the reporting that the system does, and you'll see that later, asking these two questions is important. So you need to make sure that you add all your advertising sources into both of these fields. So that's where did you first hear about us and where did you find our telephone number today. So that's it. That's run through the pick list updates that you need to go through and make sure are set up before you start using the Professional Plus edition of GetBookedUp.